Why does one rat seem to appear in every Vietnamese alley, kitchen and market lane? It is not magic, but an animal reading human routine better than most people notice. Warm air helps life continue, so the population rarely pauses the way winter would force it to. In humid neighborhoods, water stays close through drains, buckets, canals, and slow leaks. With water nearby, a rat can move without risking long and open crossings. Vietnamese streets also scatter food in tiny portions all day and all night. A grain of rice, a fish scrap, or one fruit peel is already useful. Wet markets refresh those signals before sunrise, when the city is barely awake. Street food stalls add another moving trail of smell after dark. Homes create a third layer because cooking scent slips through doors, vents, and walls. A rat does not need your whole meal, only your smallest forgotten piece. That is why even clean homes can still attract whiskers after midnight. Vietnamese neighborhoods also offer endless cracks, ledges, gaps, and hidden covers. Drains, ceiling spaces, stacked goods, and broken edges turn distance into safe passages. To a rat, a crowded alley is not chaos, but a shelter map. Motorbikes, baskets, crates, and curbside objects break danger into manageable steps. That matters because rats prefer paths where escape stays close. When danger appears, they vanish because the route was memorized in advance. Memory is one of their sharpest tools in a human world that changes daily. Once a safe route works, that route gets repeated until it becomes habit. Dense neighborhoods reward that habit with short distance between food, water, and cover. In some corners, all three can be found within a very small range. That efficiency saves energy and quietly raises the odds of survival. And when survival becomes easier, reproduction starts to look explosive. One successful mother can create growth. People mistake for a sudden invasion, but what looks sudden often built itself quietly behind walls for weeks. People notice the first bold rat, not the many careful ones that stayed hidden. Night makes that hidden world expand because human attention falls while rat movement rises. In Vietnam, evenings often stay warm enough for long hours of active foraging. Rain can also push rats upward from drains and low ground into homes and shops. Flood water does not create rats, but it can reveal routes that were already there. Rice stores, animal feed, and produce stalls give them another reason to thrive beyond kitchens. Rural edges and urban blocks often connect, so rats move between field, canal and house. That overlap matters because rats succeed where landscapes touch instead of staying separate. A warehouse beside a market or a home beside a ditch becomes a perfect bridge. Ports, trucks and delivery routes can move food, scent and shelter across districts. Rats follow human trade the way shadows follow movement. They also study our timing, learning when shutters close and floors grow quiet. A surviving rat is usually not reckless, but patient enough to wait for pattern. That patience makes the species feel smarter than the trap placed against it. Traps often fail because the wider environment still offers safer rewards nearby. Remove one rat and the neighborhood may still invite the next one in. That is why control works best when food, water and shelter shrink together. From the rat's side, an open bin still feels like an easy invitation. An unsealed drain still feels like a hallway with no rent. A stack of sacks still feels like a dry nursery hidden from rain. Mothers choose such places because babies need warmth, darkness, and fast escape. Young rats then grow inside the same maze their parents already proved safe. So what spreads is not only bodies, but local knowledge shaped by repetition. In Vietnam, that knowledge fits especially well inside layered and mixed-use streets. One block can hold food business, storage, drainage, gardens, pets, and sleeping humans together. To a rat, that is not one habitat, but several habitats touching. Now, the more layers a neighborhood holds, the fewer dangerous crossings a rat must make. Even cleanup can fail when hidden entry points stay open underneath it all. People often fight the animal they see, while the real system stays under the floor. And rats are experts at using the part of a city people barely notice anymore. They read smell, vibration, airflow, grease traces, and remembered corners with great precision. That sensory skill lets them live beside us without standing in front of us for long. When one appears in daylight, it may signal pressure, crowding, or a disturbed nest nearby. So the sighting is often a symptom, not the whole story. None of this means Vietnam is uniquely cursed by rats. It means rats thrive wherever climate, density, food flow, and shelter align well. Vietnam simply contains many places where those pieces meet very smoothly, especially in neighborhoods where aging infrastructure overlaps with daily food movement. So the rat at the doorway is not trying to be everywhere. It is following the simplest path through a world people accidentally made useful. Change that path and rat movement becomes harder, riskier, and less rewarding. Leave that path intact and new whiskers keep replacing the ones driven away. So the real answer is not that rats love Vietnam like tourists do. It is that Vietnam's human rhythms often create exactly the puzzle rats solve brilliantly. What truly weakens a rat population is not fear, but the loss of predictability in the spaces it depends on. When scraps disappear early, water stops pooling and hiding places collapse. The map in its memory starts to fail. That failure matters, because a rat survives best in places where tomorrow feels almost exactly like yesterday. Even small changes can feel enormous from rat level, especially when a favorite path suddenly opens into light. A sealed food bin removes more than one meal, because it also erases a place the animal had learned to trust. A repaired wall gap does the same, turning a familiar shortcut into a dead end with no quick escape. This is why the smartest prevention often looks boring to people, while feeling devastating to the hidden logic of rats. The goal is not to win one dramatic battle at midnight, but to make the whole neighborhood less readable every night after. Once the easy signals fade, rats must travel farther, risk more exposure, and spend more energy for less reward. And when survival costs rise like that, numbers can fall quietly, just as quietly as they once grew. So the deeper story is simple. Rats remain where the city keeps whispering yes, and leave when that whisper finally changes.